Dear friend, have you ever asked yourself, why can't I seem to change? Maybe you set goals to lose weight, pick up a new skill, or save money for financial freedom. Yet somehow those beautiful plans fade away and you find yourself back at square one. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, once faced the same struggle. As a young man, he suffered a severe injury that nearly ended his future. But through small, consistent daily habits, he recovered, rose above his challenges, and became one of the world's leading experts on the science of habits. And he discovered a powerful truth: success doesn't come from massive changes, but from thousands of tiny improvements compounded over time. In today's journey, we'll dive into atomic habits, not just dry theories, but real stories and vivid examples of how a simple 1% improvement each day can transform your entire life. Part 1. The fundamentals. Picture this. You're standing in a packed baseball stadium in the US, surrounded by tens of thousands of cheering fans. A player steps up to the plate, swings the bat, and in that instant, one single hit could change the entire game. Most people think success works the same way, like that one spectacular moment, a dramatic breakthrough. But James Clear argues otherwise. Success isn't a single moment. It's the result of hundreds, even thousands of small actions compounded over time. He calls this the compounding effect of habits. Here's a real-life American example. If you decide to save just $1 a day and invest it in an S&P 500 index fund, after 30 years, you could have more than $40,000, thanks to compound interest. But if you spend that same dollar on a soda every day, you don't just lose the money, you also harm your health, which could lead to massive medical bills down the road. It's those small, seemingly harmless habits that actually determine whether you end up wealthy or broke, healthy or sick, happy or miserable. James Clear offers a simple formula. If you improve yourself by just 1% every day, after 1 year, you'll be 37 times better than when you started. But if you get 1% worse each day, in 365 days, you'll nearly hit rock bottom. And this isn't just theory. Take Olympic athletes, for example. Gold medalists don't necessarily train in a completely different way than silver medalists. The difference is often tiny, slightly more focused, a bit more discipline, sustained over many years. That small edge, compounded over time, is what creates champions. The fascinating part is, habits are never neutral. Whether you realize it or not, they're constantly shaping your life. Someone who reads just 10 minutes every night will, after a few years, have a wealth of knowledge far ahead of others. Meanwhile, someone who spends 3 hours watching TV every night will, after a few years, feel drained, unproductive, and short on time for what truly matters. James Clear emphasizes, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Goals are like the finish line, but systems are the path that gets you there. If you focus on your systems, the daily habits you practice, the results will naturally follow. For example, an American entrepreneur doesn't need to obsess over becoming a millionaire overnight. Instead, he can start by managing monthly expenses, investing 10% of his income, and improving his skills a little each day. A decade later, becoming a millionaire feels almost inevitable. On the other hand, if he simply dreams of millions but keeps spending recklessly, that dream will remain nothing more than fantasy. The core message James Clear delivers in this opening section is simple yet profound. Habits are the atoms of life, small on their own, but when compounded, they hold immense power. You don't need to change the world overnight. Just change one small action, repeat it every single day, and over time, you'll be astounded by the massive transformation it creates.
Part 2. Law number 1. Make it obvious. Think back to the last time you drove home from work. Do you remember every single turn, every red light, every stop along the way? Probably not. You just remember getting into the car, and suddenly, you were already home. That's the power of unconscious habits. James Clear explains that so many of our daily habits happen automatically, without us even noticing. And that's why the very first step to changing your life is this: make your habits obvious. He introduces a technique called the habit scorecard. Here's how it works. Write down everything you do in a typical day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. Wake up, check phones, scroll through social media, make coffee, eat breakfast, go to work. Then mark each one. Is it a good habit, a bad habit, or a neutral one? It sounds simple, but you'll be surprised at how many things you do over and over without adding real value to your life. In fact, research in the US shows that the average adult checks their phone 262 times per day, most of it mindlessly. And James Clear emphasizes, you can't change a habit if you don't even recognize you're doing it. Imagine a typical American office worker. The very first thing he does in the morning is open his work email. Seems harmless, right? But in reality, this triggers stress from the very start of the day. His brain goes into emergency mode all the time. Over months and years, he feels burned out and unfocused. But now imagine he makes one clear new habit. After I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 2 minutes. It's a tiny change, but it helps him start the day calmer, with less stress, and over time his productivity rises dramatically. This is where James Clear introduces the concept of implementation intention. Instead of vague statements like, "I'll exercise more," you rewrite it as a clear, specific plan. I will go to the gym at 6 a.m. at the fitness center below my apartment. The formula is simple. I will, behavior, at, time, in, location. In one US study on flu vaccinations, researchers found that the group who wrote down the exact day and time they planned to get the shot were 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through compared to those who just heard, "You should get vaccinated." The lesson? When you make a habit obvious, it becomes almost like a command your brain can't ignore. Another powerful tool is habit stacking, attaching a new habit to one you already have. For example, after I drink my morning coffee, I will read 1 page of a book. After I put down my phone at night, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. This way, your old habit becomes a trigger that automatically activates the new one. Here's a fun example. In an office in Texas, employees wanted to improve their health but didn't have much time to exercise, so they started a tiny stacked habit. Every time they walked through the office doorway, they would stop and stretch for 5 seconds. Within a few months, the whole office joined in. The result? Everyone felt more energized and positive throughout the day. James Clear concludes with this key message. If you want to change your life, start by noticing what you're actually doing. Write it down. Make it obvious. Connect it to clear signals in your daily routine. Because habits can only be changed once you truly see them. Part 3. Law number 2. Make it attractive. In the previous part, we learned that if you want to change your life, you have to make your habits obvious. Now James Clear reveals another secret. We only stick to habits that our brain finds attractive. The human brain works on a very simple principle. If a behavior is linked to pleasure or reward, we're likely to repeat it. If a behavior is linked to pain or discomfort, we avoid it. This is called the dopamine principle. And here's the catch. Dopamine doesn't just show up when you receive the reward. It's released the moment you anticipate the reward. That anticipation is what makes a habit so irresistible. Take the fast food industry in America as an example. McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell all thrive on this dopamine principle. When you see the bright yellow arches of McDonald's on the highway, your brain immediately recalls the smell of crispy French fries. You haven't eaten anything yet, but dopamine is already there, triggered by the expectation of the reward. That's why the US has one of the highest obesity rates in the world, because the habit of fast food has been made so attractive it feels nearly impossible to resist. James Clear says that if you want to build good habits, you have to make them attractive. One powerful method is called temptation bundling, pairing something you need to do with something you want to do. For example, I can only listen to my favorite podcast while cycling on the exercise bike. I can only watch Netflix when I'm folding laundry. In Philadelphia, researchers tested this method with gym-goers. Participants were only allowed to listen to addictive audiobooks while working out. The result? Gym attendance increased dramatically because the brain began to crave the reward tied to the workout. Another key factor, we tend to do what the people around us are doing. James Clear calls this social norms. In America, if you grow up in a family where everyone invests in the stock market, opening an account on Robinhood or Vanguard feels natural. But if you grow up in a household where every paycheck goes straight to bills and debt payments, your financial habits will likely follow that same path. A striking example is the New York City Marathon. At first, only a small group participated. But thanks to social influence, the number of runners skyrocketed. Friends invited friends, coworkers posted pictures on Facebook, and slowly, running became a social habit, embraced by thousands of Americans. The lesson is clear. If you want to build good habits, place yourself in an environment where that habit is considered normal. Because habits aren't just actions, they're also the emotions tied to them. Want to break a bad habit? Make it unattractive. Want to cultivate a good one? Attach it to joy, rewards, or anticipation. James Clear puts it best. The more attractive a habit is, the more likely you are to follow through on it.
Part 4. Law number 3. Make it easy. Think back to a time when you were determined to change yourself. Maybe it was going to the gym, eating healthier, or learning a new skill. At first, you were full of motivation, but after just a few days or weeks, things started to feel heavy, and eventually you gave up. James Clear explains this very simply. Human beings always take the path of least resistance. Our brains hate complexity. The easier a behavior is, the fewer steps it requires, the less effort it takes, the more likely it is to become a habit. On the other hand, if something demands too much energy, the brain will find excuses to delay or avoid it. For example, if your fridge is packed with soda, chips, and fast food, chances are you'll grab those instead of slicing up an apple. But if you keep fresh fruit and water front and center and store the junk food out of sight, or better yet, don't buy it at all, healthy eating becomes the default choice. This is the principle. Make good habits easy and bad habits hard. James Clear introduces a powerful idea, the 2-minute rule. The idea is simple. Any habit can be started in under 2 minutes. Want to read every day? Start by reading just 1 page. Want to run? Just put on your running shoes. Want to write? Sit down and write 1 sentence. It sounds almost trivial, but the truth is, starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, continuing becomes much easier. In the US, many people apply this rule to build financial habits. Instead of thinking, I need to save $500 each month, they start small by automatically transferring just $5 a day into savings. The number is small, but it's easy, and that's how the habit takes root. Another way to make it easy is through automation. In America, people with strong financial habits don't rely on willpower, they rely on systems. They set up auto pay for bills like electricity, water, and internet. They set up auto invest to put money into an S&P 500 index fund each month. They use auto delivery for essentials like vitamins and groceries, so they don't have to think about it. Automation removes the temptation to procrastinate and turns hard decisions into effortless defaults. Take Warren Buffett, the legendary American investor. He didn't become wealthy from one lucky investment, but from thousands of small, repeated actions over decades. Buffett once said, "The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken." He didn't try to pick short-term stocks every day. Instead, he automated his strategy. Buy good companies,
hold them long-term, and let the system work for him. That's the ultimate example of making it easy. Success doesn't belong to the person with the strongest willpower. It belongs to the person who designs an environment where the right actions are easy. Want to build good habits? Reduce friction. Make them easy to start. Want to break bad habits? Increase friction. Make them harder to do. As James Clear writes, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Part 5. Law number 4. Make it satisfying. Human beings are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. For thousands of years, our brains have been programmed this way. If an action gives you an immediate reward, we tend to repeat it. If it causes instant discomfort or punishment, we avoid it. James Clear calls this the final key to sustaining habits. Make them satisfying. Think about it. Eating a cheeseburger gives you an immediate reward, the taste, the fullness, the comfort, but the consequences, like weight gain or heart disease, come years later. On the other hand, working out for 30 minutes brings immediate discomfort, soreness, sweat, fatigue. The reward, a stronger, healthier body, only shows up months down the road. This is the delayed reward problem. Bad habits give quick rewards with long-term consequences. Good habits give long-term rewards but short-term pain. So, how do we balance this? James Clear's solution? Make good habits satisfying right away. One famous example comes from Jerry Seinfeld, America's top comedian. He once shared his secret to writing consistently, using a wall calendar. Every day he wrote, he marked a big red X on the calendar. After a few days, the X's formed a chain. And the real satisfaction came from this thought: I don't want to break the chain. This is called a visual reward. You can use it for any habit. Each time you save money, mark it in a tracker. Each time you exercise, log it in an app. Each time you read, fill in another square on a progress chart. Simply seeing the results creates instant satisfaction, which motivates the brain to keep going. In the US, many financial apps use this principle. For example, Acorns, every time you buy something with your credit card, the app automatically rounds up your purchase and invests the spare change. Instantly, you feel like you're investing without effort. Robinhood, when you buy a stock, the app shows a little firework animation. It's a tiny detail, but it creates excitement and encourages you to keep investing. By adding immediate rewards, new behaviors become much easier to stick with over the long run. And it works the other way too. You can make bad habits painful right away. For example, in the US, many people use budgeting apps. If they overspend, the app sends an alert. You've gone over your $100 weekly budget. That instant feeling of guilt pushes them to correct their behavior. Some people even use an accountability partner. They make a deal. If I don't go to the gym 3 times this week, I'll send you $50. That immediate financial loss is far more motivating than vague promises. When a habit delivers instant satisfaction, your brain remembers it and craves it again. When a bad habit causes instant pain, your brain avoids it. As James Clear writes, we don't stick with habits that have delayed rewards, we stick with the ones that make us feel good immediately.
Part 6. Advanced Tactics. Once you've mastered the 4 golden rules, make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. You've built a solid foundation. But James Clear doesn't stop there. He wants us to dig deeper. How do we make habits a true part of our identity? And how do we sustain them when life gets more complicated? 1. Don't chase goals, build systems. In America, people often set specific goals. I want to lose 20 pounds before summer. I want to save $10,000 this year. I want to read 30 books. But here's the problem. Goals tell you what you want, while systems are what actually get you there. For example, if you want to save $10,000 but don't have a spending system, you'll likely fail. If you want to lose weight but don't build a system of exercise and diet, the scale won't move. As James Clear writes, You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So instead of asking, what do I want to achieve? You should ask, what system do I need to succeed every day? 2. Habits and identity. Who am I? One of James Clear's most powerful strategies is this. Habits don't just change behavior, they change identity. Instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, say, I am a runner. Instead of, I want to read more books, say, I am a reader. Research in the US shows that when people tie behavior to their identity, they stick with it longer. Take Weight Watchers, for example. Members succeed not only because they track calories, but because they start to see themselves as people who manage their weight. Every small repeated action is a vote for the person you wish to become. 3. The golden rule of improvement, the 1% principle. James Clear emphasizes this truth. Tiny changes, compounded over time, create massive results. Imagine this. If you improve just 1% every day, by the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better. But if you decline 1% daily, you'll almost lose everything within a year. American companies like Amazon and Tesla thrive on this principle. They don't aim for overnight revolutions. They focus on small, constant optimizations. With personal habits, it's the same. Every workout, every page you read, every dollar you save, all compound into extraordinary transformation. 4. Know when breakthroughs happen. There's a paradox with habits. Results are often delayed. James Clear calls this the plateau of latent potential. Think of an ice cube in a room. The temperature drops from 35 degrees Fahrenheit to 32 degrees. Nothing happens. But drop it one more degree and suddenly the ice melts. It's the same with habits. You might work out for 3 months with no visible change. Then, in the 4th month, your body suddenly transforms. The lesson? Don't quit just because you don't see progress yet. Habits are long-term investments. The payoff always comes later, often all at once. 5. Focus on who you want to become. In the end, the most important question isn't what do I want to achieve, but who do I want to become? If you want to be wealthy, live like someone who manages money wisely. If you want to be healthy, live like an athlete, even in small daily ways. Across the US, millions have applied atomic habits not just to change behaviors, but to change identity. And that's the most sustainable transformation of all. This advanced section isn't just about keeping habits, it's about leveling up. Focus on systems, not goals. Build identity through small habits. Harness the power of 1% improvement. Stay patient until the breakthrough arrives. It's the shift from doing to becoming. And once habits are tied to your identity, you'll never have to force them again. My friend, we've just taken a journey through how small habits can transform your entire life. From understanding the power of just 1% improvement each day, to mastering the 4 golden rules of habit building and even the advanced strategies that turn habits into your very identity. The biggest message James Clear shares in Atomic Habits is this: you don't need to change overnight. Every great success is built from small actions, repeated day after day. Your habits shape who you are, and who you are will ultimately shape your future. If you're truly serious about changing your mindset, your finances, your health, and your career, then start today with just one small action you can repeat tomorrow. And if you found this book helpful, don't forget to hit like and follow the channel so we can continue this journey together with more audiobooks. Books that can shift your thinking and bring you closer to wealth, freedom, and happiness. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next book.